So if you're grateful for what was given to you, if we love each other, if you give, I think the world will always be a better place.
Welcome to another episode of Bigger Than the Hustle podcast, and I've got my fifth interview from Perth in Australia. So hugely excited to have him on. We've tried to make this happen before when it didn't happen. So this, I've always said the universe always makes happen when it's meant to happen, and today was meant to happen. So I'm hugely excited. He's been introduced to me by Megan. So she was a previous guest just before Christmas, and I'm sure you all remember Megan, the social media queen. So as someone that's recommended by someone as awesome as Megan has to be quite awesome. So I'm just going to introduce him. His name is Wilson. Hi, Wilson.
Hello, Vivek. How are you, man?
I'm doing really well. How's things over on your side?
Yeah, we have been very grateful over here in Perth. So Australia lives this, COVID-free or almost free sort of situation. It's quite unique. And while we live here, very grateful, we're concerned about the rest of the world.
Obvious. Yes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over the mic to you so you can introduce yourself and what you're about, and then we can open up the conversation from there.
Okay, so let's see how this goes. So I may give you an introduction that's more like as a professional bio in my entrepreneurial journey, and then we go from there. So. Yeah. One more of those university students that didn't know too much about, what their career was going to be. I studied engineering, coming to, as a graduating, so I didn't have any flavor or passion particular for engineering itself. So I ended up finding myself getting around entrepreneurship and starting my first company when I was still in my last year of university. That was a software development company. We created a product, we developed it, and we start to sell that for the clients. That was in the mid 90s. Was a quite interesting journey. So what I found. Obviously now I'm telling that story in retrospective, right? So with what I learned with time. But I think what that experience gave me was a very good passion for entrepreneurship. That venture itself, it didn't become big, and I think I was more ambitious than that venture. So I move on to the next one. When I say move on, my career had flavors of a bit of everything. So I had companies that we founded. I have working corporate, as a sort of more managerial or executive career sort of thing. At the industry, as professional services, consulting companies, and later on going for entrepreneurship again.
Perfect. So what area are you in at the moment then?
So our company is in the professional services and innovation area. So Visagio is a management and technology consulting firm. We have as a group of clients that are large listed public companies where we go to help to improve their business and bring efficiency and etc. But we also work in that sort of small mid-cap sort of group of companies where we help to restructure, we help to finance, and we help to transform those companies.
Well, that's interesting. Something you mentioned earlier when you were introducing yourself was that about careers advice and about going through university or going through college and not really having a path. You just find your way as you go on. And I think I'm very similar to you in that respect, where I picked up things as I've enjoyed them and then carried on a different path. And if someone gave me an outlook forward projected my life and said, this is how it's going to be over the next 20 years, I'd be like, you're crazy. That doesn't even make any sense. But that's exactly what's happened. And I think as entrepreneurs, we generally do that, don't we? See opportunities, we pick on them, we play with them and see if we enjoy them, we carry on or we don't. Now, when you first started your career after your education, what made you decide to go into the area you did? And if you could look back retrospectively now, what would you do differently?
Oh, thanks for the question. What made me decide to go in the path I did? I think there are few pivot moments, I guess. During my university, in that sort of like I mentioned before, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I couldn't make it tangible what I was studying to what I can do professionally. So there was a holiday where I went. I did an internship. I did a summer job through the holidays, right? And I ended up getting to know someone that is very dear to me. As Alex, this is a person that I respect heaps, and this person taught me lots of business skills, and particularly in the more tech sort of side of things. I'm talking about coding and developing solutions and etc. So until that point in time, I couldn't make it tangible that I had those skills that could have value or could become a job or etc. So I was more like carrying along, but having that experience during the holidays opened up my mind to, oh, I can make money out of this. And in the process of building solutions here and there, because then I didn't stop in that summer job. So then I continued to develop solutions. Now we ended up founding it's a junior enterprise. As a student-led consulting firm in the university we were. So continued to do those sort of work. So I ended up, creating in me that sense of, we can make something out of this, and that was the starter thing. I stopped thinking about jobs.
And another thing you mentioned was when you started on that path, at a certain point you believed that your potential was greater than what you were doing at that moment in time. So you moved on to or stepped out of that and moved into a different path. Now, again, how did you recognize that? At what point did you feel inside that maybe I actually have more energy than this, or I feel that I've outgrown this now and I need to move in a different direction? Because a lot of people can get stuck continuing down the same path, believing it's going to get better or believing it's changed, rather than making the more courageous decision to say, actually, I've done what I've done here, and now it's time for me to grow and move on. What gave you that insight?
So nobody ever asked me that, man. I'm trying to put my thoughts together. Let's go for it. The stuff that I mentioned was I did that summer job. I learned some skill sets, start working with Alex at that point in time. Then we went into founding a junior enterprise at university. So start actually doing services for the clients. At that point in time was, leading to the end of university, people already, lining up jobs or thinking about, the companies that could work. So I didn't think, I think that what I was doing and developing those solutions and actually serving clients, what was way more interesting than going to find a job. So I kept doing those things until the idea of the product that I mentioned before, that this product back in the mid-90s was like a access control program for clubs and schools and gyms and that was something that didn't exist at that point in time. So then we could articulate what that product was. I saw value into it. So I just, that's what I want to do, and kept doing it. So one thing that's interesting, because you mentioned, maybe after that, how what led my interest moving forward. So I ended up knowing someone or meeting someone that later became my partner in the first business. It was I'm very grateful for meeting that person because that was exactly what I didn't have at that point in time. So I was a 20-something young boy, and this guy, as a Gino, was more, in his 40s with a whole career experience, much more commercial, skills and with established network sort of thing. So our skills complement each other very well. So that took us in a journey of, as a couple of years of learning from each other, developing that product and enjoying, having fun, etc. So I did see there an opportunity to be much bigger. And I think there might be, as I mentioned before, there might be that one of the books that I read very early on in my career was The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And because of my background and where I come from, so I saw in that concept of financial independence, and having assets and having the money working for you. So I was already intrigued and curious about how can I make this happen, as opposed to the rat's race, which the normal job sort of seeking. So I was already curious and intrigued. And suddenly the opportunity was there.
And
you did mention, you did ask me what I would have done differently. So, well, I didn't know what I know, right? But if I put in perspective, that partnership that I had in our first job was myself as more like the tech guy. And Gino, which was my partner, is an older, commercial savvy, and etc. And the relationship that we had and we still have until these days was very unique, very special. And with the knowledge I have today, we could make that sort of partnership go along way beyond we did at that point in time. And I would have invested more in the business of us together or in our partnership together, because I recognize in that partner someone that we could have built many other things together.
It's interesting when you have hindsight on your side and perspective as you get older, right? Because I remember when I started my first business, I again started with a friend of mine, and it was in the looser sense of partnership. There was never a formal agreement. We just went into business together, and we decided. And about a year later, I bought him out, and then he wanted to do other things, and I carried on. Now, looking back, there were so many skills that he brought to the table that I, at that point, didn't have, but I believed I had them until I look back now and think, if I just nurture the relationship a little bit better, there's so many more things we could have done to use his skills and my skills and put them together. But at that point, I guess being naive, I was then 24 years old, and being naive and believing that I had all the answers, rather than saying, actually, what do I know and what does he know, and how we can put that together to grow, rather than saying, I should have another version of me standing by my side, as opposed to, that. And I think as I've got older, and now even new ventures I look at, partnerships are so important, working with people with different skill sets, different views, to not just to grow together, but to share the burden together as well, right? Where you can bounce off each other, and when there's a decision you need to make, sometimes two pairs of eyes are a lot better than one. And I've come to learn that as time goes on. Now, if we're projecting forward now, Wilson, so we're looking into the future, what kind of things do you think are still possible for you, which right now you are thinking about, you may go into, or it may be just a nice to have? What kind of ideas do you have right now?
Oh, so I think life is just starting, man. I'm getting to 50, and that's just starting. My problem is a problem of having too many ideas, get myself in trouble of getting involved with too much. So I'm always fighting with myself to focus a little bit more here and there. But every time that I try that, it's not me. I am that person that gets involved with many things and do many things at the same time, and etc. So the exercise that I have been doing recently to just get a little bit more focus, and just to make sure I can have a decision process to choose this or that. I did an exercise through that, and that exercise brought three things that are very close to my heart, very important for me, and that's innovation, education, and diversity, right? So, and what I'm doing these days is that everything that I get involved, I use those three things as levers or parameters to actually help me make a decision whether that's the right thing for me or not. So, and having said that, having that sort of baseline in terms of how can I make decisions? Well, look, as innovations are around us, I have so many ideas. In Visagio, we have a tremendous group of, we have a group of talent and good-hearted people, as we call, and we already have seen some of the outcomes of when we put, these people thinking together and building something together. There are so many opportunities to keep growing our core business, or to even spin off or pivot ideas, or have innovations sideline that we invest in. Have been very active in the innovation ecosystem with angels groups like the Tough Angels, like the EO Angels, and that helps to mature my perspective of the sort of deal flows that exist around, so I can connect back to what we know what to do well in Visagio. So there are so many ventures that can still happen. So that's what is in there for me in the future, I think. And if I have to just add to that, I have two boys, 10 and 15, and I'm loving being a dad. And obviously, I'm always seeking for more time to be the best dad I can be, because I'm being a busy person. And not only that, so the more time spent with Renata, my wife, more in love I am with her. And finding out a way to to invest time in the marriage is also something that's very important for me.
It's so funny. There's so many things that resonate so profoundly with me. So a few things you mentioned there. First of all, having more ideas and not having enough time to work on those ideas. I think there should be a word for that, because I think all entrepreneurs seem to have that, where you see opportunities at every corner and you want to pursue everything, but you realize actually as you get older, so you're 50, I'm 45, so as you get down the path, you realize that there's so much value in trying to concentrate. I know it goes against our nature, because our nature is just to keep opening the doors as opposed to try and keep them open. But I can start seeing the value in trying to focus, letting go of a few projects and saying, actually, that for now, I'll put that on the back burner and let me just concentrate on what I'm doing. The second thing you mentioned there was about your children. So my children are exactly the same age. I have a son that's 10 and a daughter that's 15. And again, taking time out. It's only the last few years I've stopped working weekends so that I can spend time with them, and I'm loving it. Just switching off and just doing silly things like play PlayStation with my son, listen to music or watching TV with my daughter, whatever it is, and just having conversations, just seeing them grow. Because I know with my dad, we didn't have that choice, because he was the first generation into this country, being an Indian immigrant, and we had to graft. He had his own business, and he worked so much that I didn't know him till probably after 20. So I didn't want to then tread. I understand there was no resentment. I understood that that's what needed to be done at that point. But now that life that he led gave us the choices that we have, and I now have to understand that the choices we have, I have to make the most of them, because I don't have to decide in the same way he did, where he had to work or had to create a business and really grow because he was the only one earning at that point, right? So those
Definitely.
things, they clicked a nice little harmony in me, and I liked hearing that, because when someone mirrors you in the way you think, in the way you feel, it almost gives you an insight into your own life, and you see yourself in the mirror. So thank you for explaining that to me. Now, you mentioned something about your wife, Renata. Okay, so as you get older, you've given each other, you've created your own space where you are individual people, but there's a space in the middle where you share and you learn together and you grow together. What kind of things do you do to step away from your business and entrepreneurship and to spend time with her so that you two can be as strong as you can as a couple? Because I know we all wear different hats. So you wear the hat of the dad, you wear the hat of a brother, you wear the hat of a son, whatever other hats you wear. But the hat of a partner who spends the most time with you, I think, is a really important relationship to nurture. So what kind of things do you do to nurture that relationship?
So thanks for asking that. So also not a normal question. uh, Look, I'm work in progress, right? So I don't know anything. So the more I know, the less I know. What I can share with is that sometimes, and that happen in our lives. So sometimes you're so busy doing what you have to do, and we are busy. I'm busy with work, and she is busy with work, and and she, as all women, doesn't get a fair balance of it. They are busy with work, but they're busy with everything else. So they're busy with us, their husbands. They're busy with the children. They're busy. That is so unfair, that balance. So, but we for a good time we've been living just traveling along, right? So meeting the expectations that we have on us, that someone else have on us, and doing this and doing that and doing that and etc. And not stopping to be part of each other's life.
Mhm.
So what we have been doing is slowly, in the last few years, is actually stopping and giving that time and attention to the other, and really show interest. Just stop and listen. So what are you doing? A kind of exercise, not putting any expectation at all, but just to listen to the other and learn what they're going through, what they're thinking, what they and offering help if they can to. So that's one thing that I learned as I don't know. So I learned that it's not all the time that she speaks to me that she's asking for help.
Mhm.
In fact, most of the times she's sharing.
Yeah.
And for me, the journey of learning to listen was a long journey. I had to work hard on that, and to hold myself back, and to make sure that that's that time is hers. It's for her story. It's her perspective. Uh, and I think and I think I'm very grateful that she's doing the same as well, to learn to learn about the stuff that we do and that I do in our company, and etc. And show appreciation for that as well.
Mhm. And
So yeah,
it's a
there
thing
is
of
a
active listening, isn't it? Active listening, where
yeah.
you're actually hearing the words.
Yeah. Well, it's fair to share, Bhavik, so that I recently read the book, The Five Languages of Love. So I heard about that book for ages, but I didn't read it before. So, and if, when my wife hear this, me saying this, she will, Nana, you're not reading, you're listening. Because I'm a fan of audiobooks, right? So reading is definitely not my thing, but I love listening to it. So got Five Languages of Love in the audiobook and etc. And look, that's one method, right? So don't defend that as the only way. but it's extremely valuable for you to understand the different perspectives and how people appreciate love in a different way. So if you really love someone, so get to know what is that that person appreciate as a demonstration of love is I think is more important than what you think you're giving as love.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that has been good as well. It changed completely my perspective and my actions.
Mm. And something you said while you were explaining that was
Well,
sometimes.
look,
Sorry.
no, go for it. Sorry.
No. So I said sometimes someone just wants you to listen. They don't want an opinion. They just want you to hear what they're saying. And I think there's a question that I asked one of my friends when we were listening the other day. I said, "You're sharing this with me. Do you want an opinion or do you just want me to listen?" Because I think it's really important to understand that some people share because they don't want an opinion. They just want them to be heard. And just by a lot of the time, just by sharing and communicating, they solve it themselves just by expressing it in words, right? When it sits in your head and the same energy that creates whatever it is cannot solve it. So by changing the energy into words or vocalizing it, a lot of the time we come up with the solution, don't we?
Yeah, exactly that. And if they need help, they will ask for.
Mm, yeah,
So then
100%.
you can offer this or that.
So you talked about love just then, the love between two people, which is so important. But what does self-love mean to you?
So look, I'm reflecting on your question, and I remember in my teenage years that I struggle a lot because I had heaps of struggles in finding a girlfriend and finding someone. I'm looking for someone that would love me. And look, in perspective. So I think I was looking outside for love, and I didn't sort that out. So I struggled. It just didn't work for me. It was very even dark years in a certain way. Later on, so my way out of that was well, like one day I was tired of that, and I said, well, I don't care anymore if someone loves me or not. So I love myself, and I'll be happy with it. And and it worked for me. So from that day on, I start to appreciate things that I know about myself, and that I wasn't stopped to look at those. But I cannot tell you what made me change. So I think I was tired of. I think I wanted to be happy. I wasn't happy, and I was tired of that.
Mm,
So now it's enough is enough. So I need to be happy.
mm.
So
And
from that, because you ask about self-love, so and some people may even think that I'm arrogant because I'm very proud of myself. I just I love every feature. I love as a with 17 or 16 years old, I want to be good looking for to be able to attract the girls. So and I'm awesome. I'm very good looking, man. I'm not never gonna be a Hollywood star for sure, but I'm very happy of who I am.
and what's quite important with something you said there is how it's been received. So when I really enjoy it when someone is proud of who they are and they outwardly express it. I know, living here in the UK, in Britain, I'm raised here, and humble is a word that a lot of people use, in terms of being humble. But for me, it's that if you do something and you're proud of that, share. And if you're not, share that as well, where you have both sides of it, right? I've always said I've been through quite a tough time over the last 10 years. So my through that process I've realized that unless you are your own best friend, the voice within you is your cheerleader, the things in the outside world can really pull you and push you and adjust you and try and crack you at certain points. But when you realize that my opinion of myself is higher than anyone's opinion of me, you realize that you're living that you're treading your path the way you believe is best, and therefore they think the outside information, the media, the internet, whatever sources come in, they're not going to affect you, because I'm on a certain path and I'm happy. I'm happy with who I am. I know I've got so much to go. I know there's so much growth to happen, but I am content with the person I have grown into and am growing into. And I think,
I like the way you articulating, and I would love to share other perspective of the same thought as well.
yeah,
Is how much you're grateful, right?
mm,
So you can have, I think, as it would be silly from me if I don't recognize the number of privilege that I have, and with all these privileges, I have to, as a being grateful about these privileges is all what it is about, and all the big things that can happen in the future. It can happen. It's the future, right? So, but today I'm very grateful for those privileges that I have, and that's very powerful as well.
mm. And you're talking about gratitude. So gratitude at moments of time when things are going really well and things are good, we can access a lot of things that we can be grateful for. Now, are there any moments in your life that have already happened which were classified as trauma, heartache, or pain that you went through, that you can look back and now say that I am grateful for those because they created something that's part of my life now?
It's 100%. So one thing that I can remember and happy to share. So I don't know if I have shared this before. So back before university, so I was a very good student. So, and that's sort of very good top of class student, which is one of the things that I'm very grateful for. And I ended up going to study engineering in a school called, the translation version of it is the Institute of Aeronautics Technology. It's a very prestigious university in Brazil. So I was very fortunate to be able to be there, and etc. So problem was that I was not happy in that school. I spent like almost the full 5 years of the engineering course. So I actually didn't graduate in that school. So, but I spent almost all the 5 years of the engineering there. And I was constantly struggling, why I'm doing here. So this is not for me. I don't like this, and etc. In the first few years, you went, oh, good, because it was so new that, you're exploring that new world of living out of home, of, studying a new school and etc. And it was exciting that way until, so you face some hurdles and you start to, really, and I remember the process of leaving that university. I ended up leaving and finishing my engineering degree in another school. So it was extremely tough because, it is not easy to actually leave a school that everybody wants to go to, and you have a privilege to be in. You feel all sort of emotions. You feel like you're not being fair to other people. You feel like that you're failing. You feel like you don't deserve. But at the end of the day, I was able to to come back and to go through that and find out my path in the other university. So to a very good extent, there was the best thing that happened to me in my life. One of the best things, not the best. but moving to that other university and explore the different environment that was much more suitable for my character, for my skill set, was that actually amplify my potential in a way that I could never have that in a place that supposedly was a better university, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So going through that was, it had very dark moments and very strange feelings. But the resilience that I could build going through that pain, but going through that, and being even, getting my, building self-confidence in a way that, without that pain, potentially I would not have, built such a high confidence, I guess.
Mm. And I found that it's during those moments, the dark moments or the moments of pain or trauma, there's something that comes out of us that creates something that's so much stronger because we've been through it, as opposed to just staying in the middle of the road and staying in the comfort zone. And it's the edge of the comfort zone where I think life happens, and so much of my life has happened, or so much of the outcome of my life has happened through deep traumatic times. So I always look back at the time now. I think as I get older, I've even if I go through something that I perceive maybe not beneficial or unfortunate, I always say this is happening for me. It's not happening to me, because there's a bigger purpose later on, right? And that's what gives me the faith to say, just get through it. Don't try and speed through it. Just get through it, and then we'll see many years down the line why this happened. It probably is really important. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
I agree. I'm very comfortable myself with that. So what I'm not comfortable with is that now having kids, knowing that they will have to have their own traumas to learn, that's very unsettling.
well, Wilson, they're gonna have to fall down to stand up, right? Like we did, and we were allowed to, because I think sometimes now as parents we can micromanage and we can become mini micromanagers of our children, whereas our parents, I think, just let us do whichever way we wanted to live our life, right? So it never hurt us, and that's why I try and let go. I know it's tougher as a father, and I'm in the same position, but at some points we just have to say they need to make the mistakes. How do you learn unless you fall down to stand up, right? So
That's right.
what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into a 10 quick fire question round. Now, all I need you to do is listen to the questions, and whatever comes out of that crazy thinking head of yours, Wilson, you just speak it out, even if it doesn't make sense, okay? So it's a 10 quick fire question, no thoughts, just we'll go for that now, okay? So, you ready?
Yeah, I'm scared.
Good.
Ready.
Don't be scared. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you?
9.
What is your best feature?
I'm a all-round mediocre athlete.
What is your favorite song?
Dire Straits, Walk of Life.
What advice did you get that was most rewarding?
Rule number 6. Don't. Rule number 6 is not all about. It's not all about it. Shut.
Yeah.
It not as important. Go
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. What is one food you wouldn't want to give up?
Would not or would?
Would not. Yeah.
Oh, meat barbecue, picanha, the Brazilian meat picanha.
Perfect. If you could access a time machine, where would you go and why?
That's emotional. My wedding day. I want to live that moment again. So it was special.
Brilliant. What is your favorite cuisine?
Italian. Pasta. Gnocchi, lasagna, pizza.
What is your dream car?
My dream car is a BMW, man, and I have it.
Who is your favorite superhero and why?
Oh, superhero. Do I have one? Uh,
And you can't say
no, I'm not
yourself.
even. No. I'm thinking about uh, Speed Racer. I don't know if you know who that is. Mach 5, Speed Racer.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And if you could write a book about your life, what would it be called?
I came and enjoyed it, and I'm still having fun.
Perfect. That was brilliant. That's 10 questions done and it goes so quick. But thank you. Thank you for sharing and being so honest in those answers. I always like that section. It's a bit of fun. Now, as we head over towards the end of the podcast, there's a couple more questions I'd like to ask you, Wilson, just to get a deep insight about you as a person. Now, we're going to project 100 years into the future where you're living now the last moments of your life. You don't have enough energy to speak, but you have enough energy to share 3 words. Now, these 3 words have resonated with you all your life and helped you, and you hope by sharing them, they'll be help the people that are listening. What would those 3 words be for you and why?
Well, that's easy. That's gratitude. That's love. And that's giving. I think the why is a simple why for all the 3 of them. So if each one of us really look at what we have, so we all have privilege, we all have a reason to be grateful for, and we live for giving that away, and love people. I think that's what happiness means for me, I guess.
Perfect. Now, this podcast is called Bigger Than the Hustle, and right now you're bigger than the world. So I've got a microphone and I've connected up to 7.58 billion people on this planet. They can all hear you. They're all conscious. There's no language barrier. They're all awake and they're all listening. If I can hand this over to you for the next 30 seconds, what would your message be to the world?
So I think I summarized before. So really look at this word with love. So as human beings, what we all crave is connections and relationships, and to be loved and to love people. That's, in my experience, what we all crave. So we express that in different formats, but at the end of the day, if you really think about, that's what you want. So if you're grateful for what was given to you, if we love each other, if you give, I think the world will always be a better place.
Fully agreed, and such wise words, Wilson. So at this juncture, I'd really like to thank you. Thank you for, first of all, giving up your time and sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and your humor with us today. It's so insightful when we hear different stories from different people, and some of the stories you went through, I think they're so useful and helpful to hear. Thank you for being the person you are in the world. I know you're doing so much over there in Australia, and you're touching so many people's hearts and lives with the work you do. So I implore you to continue on that path, continue opening doors, because that's what lights us up, and continue to tread down paths which you not even walk through, doors that you don't even know exist right now, and see what's possible for you. Is there anything you'd like to say just before we go?
No, it's well, the only thing I want to say, Bavek, is thank you to you. So you also doing an awesome job. So you put this together, you give opportunities for us to share. So we love to share. So I think you're very generous with your words. So while I'm very proud of the journey so far, so I'm dismal, not I'm just doing what I have to do, and I'll keep trying that, and I hope my 2 kids, my wife, they're proud of me.
And yet, Wilson, there is still so much to go, right? There is still so much to go. So thank you for that. Now, my name's Bavik and I'm the host of Bigger Than the Hustle, and right now I'd just like to leave you with a few thoughts. Big energy leads to big thoughts lead to big ideas lead to big actions, and big actions lead to a big life. So keep thinking big. Until next week, goodbye.
Ignore the inner voice of doubt. Dream big. Do not aim for what you think is possible. but what your heart truly desires. Don't look at the obstacles, but focus on the end result. Magic will happen.